record on this. And then I'm going to share, and I'm excited to have you all here and see some faces that I recognize and some that I don't. And so hopefully everyone can see this. Everyone can see the slide?
Yeah.
We're good? Okay, awesome. Okay, well, I'll jump in. Welcome to Speak Plus. It's all about your voice, your energy, your confidence. This is a mini workshop. And the idea here is to give you as much as I can in a short amount of time, 45 minutes. I will leave a little bit of time for Q&A as well. But the goal is to provide some tools for you wherever you are in your speaking or thought leadership journey. Some of you are here maybe because you want to get on stages and do your own speaking work, perhaps even get paid to do it. Some of you might be here because you're part of a large team and you're getting up in front of your group and you feel like you want to have more confidence in your ability to articulate what you want to say. And others of you might be here because you are an entrepreneur and you know you have to get out there on social media, do the videos, get in front of groups at networking events, and talk about who you are, what you have to offer. And so all of this is a form of speaking. It's when we use our voice to share our energy and our ideas to make impacts. We'll jump into that in just a little bit as well. So this is all based on the Speak Plus program that I'm the founder of and the coach for. And I'll talk about that at the very end. But please know that the tools I'm sharing with you today are self-contained. So you can just take them and please use them, teach them to others, because the idea here is that we are all feeling empowered to be able to make a difference in our own ways of showing up, but then also a difference for others who are looking at you and saying, if she can do it or he can do it, I can do it too, which I think is really cool. So if you've ever been on a stage or in a moment where you feel like you're facing down on the microphone, right? You're like, oh my gosh, I have to talk. This is the moment where I'm supposed to share something intelligent. It can be a little nerve-wracking, and you may have some thoughts going in your head. I call them resistance about who am I to think I can talk about this, or who am I to think others will want to listen, all that kind of stuff. I'm going to offer tools to get past that resistance in a bit. But first, let's really focus on why you're here, because you probably have a message that you know you need to share. So if you've ever had any kind of challenges or worries or stress or anxiety about doing speaking work, then this session is for you, because I'm going to help you to move past those fears and anxieties and to do the work in a way that is, hey, even more, this is kind of exciting, joyful, a little more fun. No, not always has to be so stressful. The biggest question most people come to me with when they want to start doing speaking work, or again, if you're in front of your team, is what am I going to say? Like, what is the content I'm actually going to say? And the next question is, well, how am I going to say it? What do I do with my hands? Or do I walk back and forth? Do I stand in one spot? What happens if I say and ah all the time, which is, by the way, pretty natural. So I have ideas around that, but don't stress about it. So what am I going to say and how am I going to say it? These are the two of the biggest questions that come to people's minds. So the question that I propose to you that you can focus more on, which is more powerful, is how will people feel when they receive my energy, your unique energy, my words, and of course, your wisdom? How will they feel? And when we focus on that, it's a little bit less overwhelming, okay? But not so much about what you're saying or how you're saying it, but what energy do I want them to feel? How is what I'm saying and how I'm saying it going to impact them? So in Speak Plus and all my coaching work, that's what we really focus on, because you are here with a message to share. There is something inside of you, because we're spending this time together, that is saying, I have something to share. You probably have life experiences where you were challenged and you overcame it. And now you have some wisdom and you have some insights, stories that when you share them, it impacts people. And that is our gift as speakers, is our ability to tell these stories, our ability to connect, to create those bridges. And for some of us, it's easier than others, but there's definitely ways you can elevate those skills and to be able to share our stories in ways that not only connect, but actually help people to transform, to shift into different mindsets and into different ways of taking action. And isn't that the goal, I would imagine, for most of us, is to create impact? Give me a woo woo if that's your goal. I got a couple people on camera. Yeah. Ultimately, we want to get on stage to make impact. We're not getting up there just to talk. We're getting there to say something that matters. But we worry because we're perfectionists, many of us, I'm sure, on this call about are we going to say it in the right way? So your stage awaits. It really does. If you have the desire, if you have the call, then there's a reason for it. Because believe me, not everyone does, right? I would say, what, 90% of people are like, no, thank you. I do not want to get on that stage or in front of those people. No, thank you. But for a very few of us, you here on this call, you do have that inclination. So let's grow it. Let's elevate it. Let's leverage it and use it to make a difference. My goal as a Speak Plus coach is to help you develop your energy, your voice, and to speak with clarity, courage, and of course, confidence and charisma on your stage. Again, whatever that stage looks like for you and for everyone, it's a little bit different. And as you go along your journey, it changes. And ultimately, the goal is maximum impact. So let's get into it. Today, I'll be sharing 3 areas of focus, all about helping you to have that charisma and confidence when you speak. The first one is content. What are you going to say? The second is delivery. How are you going to say it? And the third, of course, is that impact piece that when you really connect with it, it makes everything else, oh my gosh, so much easier. So let's get rolling. Now, remember, this is being recorded, so I will upload it to YouTube and share the link with you so you can go back, take notes, whatever the case may be. Right now, if you feel free to take notes, but there's something that in this content that I'm going to share with you from my program that is going to help you. So just take what you can, take the little bits, right? It's a lot I'm sending your way. So please don't try to like memorize and consume it all at once because there's just so much. So take what you can today and you can always go back and get more. So number 1, content. What am I going to say? You know, many people that I work with as professionals or experts in our fields, we rely on data. We have lots of research. We read lots of books. We find out lots of information. For some of you, you might even be researchers. You have, stories from other clients that you've worked with, that kind of thing. You have lots of data to work with. And for some, it can be a bit of a crutch because you're leaning on the data so much. Now, data is important. Research is important, but I'm going to argue that it is not the most important. Now, if you're speaking at a medical conference full of people who are looking just for the data, then yes, of course, data is very important. But if you're sharing your ideas and thoughts and you want to elevate your thought leadership, data is a support tool. It's not the main focus of the show. What really matters is your stories. That's how you shine as a speaker. That's how you show up and truly build the bridges that make a difference. Your stories, your lessons learned. I'm going to guide you through it so you can have real tactical ways of creating these stories that you share on stage. The stories are gold because they're yours and they're absolutely unique. Now, you may think, what stories? Even if you had me sit down and said, think of a story about ... I'd be like, So that's why as speakers, we regularly work on our story inventory, constantly thinking about, oh, remember that one time this happened? And if you're trying to teach something about adaptability, you can think about a story in your own life experience where you had to be adaptable. You can also use client examples for many of you who are coaches or executive trainers or even management consultants in my circle. But for the purpose of this training, I want you to focus on your stories because nobody else has them but you. And when you go through this exercise again and again, you just get better and better at it. They truly are your gold when it comes to content. So here's how we work it. Your stories are lessons that you have learned. So I want you to choose one lesson that you've learned in your life that has been an important lesson that has helped you define who you are. It has helped you move past trials and tribulations and challenges. And you don't have to think of it right now. Most likely it comes right to you though, actually, because often it's kind of a mantra. It's a way of thinking. It's a way of moving forward in life that has really informed your choices and actions. So think of one lesson that you have learned. Here's an example from my own life experience. When I was a young girl, I was having a really cranky day. Happens every now and then, right? Yeah. And I remember just being cranky. I don't know, I was 8, 9, around there, maybe even 7. And my dad had said, there was 2 kids in my family, my brother and myself. My dad had said, kids, get in the station wagon. we're going for ice cream. Now, on any normal day, because I'm very motivated by food, I would have been really excited, but I was cranky that day. So I dug my heels and said, I don't want anything. Like, I actually remember doing this, but I had to get into the station wagon anyways. We drove down to the Tasty Treat place. My brother ordered this big ice cream cone, and I remember him walking out of the store looking at like melting already, and he's just enjoying it. And I was just bitter that he got ice cream and I didn't, because I chose not to. I chose not to go inside because stubborn. And then my dad gets in the car with his ice cream, my mom, and he starts the station wagon, and my family drives away. And I started sobbing, like sobbing, because I was really sad. I didn't get any ice cream. And as we drove away, my dad very calmly said, in between my sobs, like it was the ugly cry, he said, you know, Trisha, if you want something, like, if you have to ask for it, if you don't ask, you don't get. So ask for what you want. And even as a little girl, I recognized the wisdom in that truth. I was like, oh yeah. So to this day, when I'm struggling for something, or I'm choosing to make a choice to work towards something, I was like, yeah, if you don't ask, you don't get. So that is a lesson that's informed my life. So think about something from yours. And you want to write out that defining life moment that taught you this lesson. So for some people, that means opening up a Word doc or Google Doc and just like writing it all out. Just type it out, how you felt, what the experience, what you noticed that day. Was it hot? Was it cold? Write out as many details as you possibly can. Not because you're going to recite all these details, but just to, get your story kind of straight and everything that happened. So you want to write that out. Now, here's the actual formula for any story you share on stage. It is this: what happened, how it felt, and what you learned. Those three pieces. So whenever you get on stage and you're sharing a story, and again, stage could be on a keynote address or can be in front of your team, what happened, how it felt, and what you learned. And when you combine these three, it's a powerful connection, and it's a bridge building formula to connect with anyone in your audience who can say, oh my gosh, I remember a day that I didn't get the ice cream. Or I can think of a time in my life where I should have asked for what I wanted and I didn't. And these bridges help open people up in your audience to receive what you're sharing and to think for themselves, how can I do different? Just like perhaps the speaker has or you have. So that is the formula. So I mentioned a story inventory. I use notes in my phone because whenever I go for a walk, these ideas come to me. My stories come to me when I listen to music, when I'm in the shower, which is really not ideal. But for you, you might be, working away. You might have those moments where your brain starts to think. And when you get your brain on the task of thinking about stories and collecting them, they come to you. They really do. So you want to create a story inventory, whether it's online, in your notes, a notepad in your purse or your bag. Just make sure that you write them down, because guaranteed, for me and many others, you will forget it like 2 hours later, whatever the case may be. So make sure you write it down, because again, your stories are absolute gold. So you have now some content to share. The stories are the most important. You could create an entire 1-hour presentation just bridging story to story to story using that formula. And essentially, just so you know, when I do my presentations and keynotes, that is pretty much how I build every single one. I look at my story inventory, I see what the client needs. Now, of course, I'm a professional speaker, so I'm working with clients who are bringing me in to do that kind of speaking work. Yours might be a little bit different, but it's really bridging these stories together. It makes the system so much easier, and you're never having to memorize anything. And that's really important in Speak Plus. You never have to memorize a speech. You don't have to memorize nothing unless you choose to, because really memorization is going to detach you from the experience of sharing what you have. So please take the pressure off and take some pleasure in knowing that you don't have to memorize your speeches. Okay, second point is delivery. So you have your content, some stories going on, you're inventorying them, you're building them up. Now, how are you going to actually say it? How are you going to use those words with the microphone or on that stage to make as much impact as possible? There's 4 pieces to your delivery. The first is your words, what you're actually saying. Least important, by the way. The second is your voice, right? How you use your voice, inflection, pauses, how you go from one level of volume to a quieter volume if you're trying to make a little bit more impact, right? Also, space. Space is how you move, the space you occupy around you. Now, in Speak Plus, we go into each one of these very, very, very detailed, but I wanted to plant the seeds now with you. Just you're thinking about it, the words you say, the voice that you bring to it, how you say it, the space you take up. Now, and everyone's style is different. So I know some speakers who like walk constantly back and forth, while others will walk a little bit. I tend to walk, ground, say a few things, then walk to the other side, ground. Everyone has a different kind of method, but you'll only know your method, what you're comfortable with by doing the work, by getting out there and doing the work and taking those opportunities and saying yes, saying, yeah, okay, I'll share some thoughts at that meeting, or I can speak at that conference, those kind of things. So the final piece, the most important and why it's in big letters is energy. It's the energy you show up with. Because here's the real deal is that there's no one who has your energy. And it sounds kind of cliche, like, oh, everyone's special, but we kind of are. So no one has your energy. And we'll talk about resistance in just a short bit, but this is a really important point because when I work with people who come to me and like pay for a speaking training program, and they're invested in it, like they want to do it, like many of you might or are doing now. But the one thing that really gets in the way is thinking like I'm not unique enough. There's 400 people doing the same thing on the same topic, but nobody is your energy. And in my speaking circles with my colleagues who do this for a living, we could be talking about the exact same ideas and thoughts, whether it's around work-life wellness, which is one of my expertise, or maybe it's impact leadership, or for some people, it could be adaptability or leadership. I don't know, anything. But it doesn't matter because we're all a little bit different and different people will connect with you in different ways. So please have faith that your energy, how you show up, is the most important piece. It really is. Everything else will fall into play as you do it more and more. But you have to have confidence that your energy is unique and you have something to give to your audiences. I want you to imagine that you are the host of an experience. So whether it's 20 people in a boardroom, 5 people at a retreat, or 2,000 people in a grand auditorium, you are the host of the experience for them while you're on your stage. So imagine that you are driving a bus and you're stopping and you're saying, hey, everyone, get on my bus. Come on my bus. I'm going to take you for a ride. So you have to have what's called, that agency over the experience. And that's the difference between really confident speakers and those that are still learning that confidence, is someone who gets on stage and says, join me on the journey. And there's a level of agency around that. When you tap into that, that makes you show up as an elevated speaker because you're able to guide people through the experience in the time that they get to share with you. So you're hosting people and you're leading them. And that's a perspective shift that you may or may not have thought of before that I think is very, very valuable. I actually remember in my speaking career when I made that shift, and it was very transformative. So you're engineering experiences that fuel connection and engagement. Connection and engagement. So you're making a difference by using your stories to bridge with them, and you're using your insights and tools, your ideas, your tips to help them move forward too. So speaking of tools, here are some tools for you that you can practically use to help engage and connect with your audience. Remember, this is recorded, so if you can't get them all down now, you can come back for them, okay? The first one is one of my favorites to teach because it's so simple, but it just kind of feels good. Imagine that you have a bunch of people at your place and you have a really big pie and you're just excited to share the pie with everybody. Now, pie is an acronym. Your speaker has to have one. We got purpose, we got interaction and experience. Purpose, interaction, and experience. And this is how you can share the pie. It's like hosting and leading, like getting everyone connected in the experience. And I'll give you an example. Pie, purpose. Today, I'm going to share my top tools and tips to help you be a more confident and impactful speaker. The purpose of our gathering. So typically pie is served at the beginning of an event, okay? At the very beginning of getting everyone connected. So you state your purpose so everyone knows where they're going. What adventure are they going on? The second piece is interaction. Now, how many of you have ever experienced stress when it comes to speaking in front of people? Raise your hand. Anyone here? Yeah, right? So that is interaction. Now you're getting everyone to like, stop falling asleep. Not that they were, but if they just came in after lunch, they probably are. And you're interacting, you're getting their brains fired. And the third is about experience. So over the next hour, I promise to deliver highly effective tools that will help you to actually enjoy sharing your thought leadership. Are you ready? Now, everyone knows what the purpose of them being there is. They have some interaction of engagement, and you're setting the stage for the experience they're about to take on, the journey on the bus they're going to go on, if that makes sense. So pie is really effective for opening your presentation, because a lot of people struggle, like, how do I start? How do I open it up? How do I get people excited in the beginning? This is a great way to do it, pie. And you can use the same at the end to close everything off as well. So it's a powerful tool for that. The next tactical tool for engaging your audience is used in pie, but you can also use it as a standalone tool, and that is to ask questions. And questions, I do it all the time in my presentations because it gets people thinking, right? It just gets people engaged and wondering for themselves, how do they see themselves in the content you're delivering? And that's the goal. So ask questions. Sprinkle the questions like little sprinkles throughout your presentation, so that people constantly have a reason for their brains to fire up. Now, here's an example. Have you ever got sucked down the rabbit hole of watching funny reels, and then 30 minutes later, you dramatically put your phone down because you have so much work to do and you do not have enough time to do it? Has anyone ever experienced that? Yeah, me, right? I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta put this down. I got so much to do, but it's so funny. So here's the thing. Many of us have done that. So you want to ask questions, and it can be humor based where people are like, oh yeah, that's me. I have done that. And then that engages them immediately right there. But you don't just need to do questions that are funny. You can also do questions that are a little more serious. And this is a common question that I ask, and it does take a little bit of the air out of the room. So you have to be careful how you engineer it and how you deliver it and how you bring your audience out of it. But a powerful question to ask is like, what truth are you resisting in your life right now with the goals that you have and the changes you seek to make? There is a truth that you're resisting, ignoring, putting aside under the rug. And if you recognize it, you'll have to do something about it. So what truth are you resisting? It's a little deeper. It really tugs on people's emotional strings. You have to make sure you do it in a way that is delicate, that you provide space for them to think about it and answer it in their mind. And then you also need to bring the audience back up, right? So you have to offer them tools to be able to use that awareness in a positive way, not to shame themselves. There's a lot to that engineering of experience, but this is a powerful example. You could ask a little bit more in-depth questions, right? I have a little chat box notification here. So let me see. I want to make sure. Oh, every time. Thanks. Thanks, Simi. Every time with those reels. So what truth are you resisting? Okay, that's a great question to ask. Whoops. So what you're actually doing a lot of the times is you're sharing a little bit of your own heart. And when we do that, again, this brings us back to stories and being a little bit vulnerable about who we are. Again, that is a connector, that is a bridge building experience. And it's not always easy because it's sometimes hard to share a little bit about ourselves. So choose your stories wisely, but remember that showing up as totally put together doesn't always help people to connect. And so there's many times in your own life where you probably have failed or were challenged or just, I don't know, like crap the bed at some level or not. And when you share some of those details, even if you throw it in as a little bit of humor, like people just connect to that. I mean, life is not easy, right? So we have to recognize that although we have tools to share and ideas to share, I'll be the first to recognize that getting up in front of an audience is not easy. And I could sit here, even though we only have, oh my gosh, 45 minutes, If I had more time, I would definitely include more stories about some of the challenges and kind of life-altering failures that have brought me to learning moments, the emails you get after a presentation when someone says that you made everyone laugh at the table, but not in a good way. Those kind of things. There's moments where you're not received well. Your intent of sharing ideas and thoughts may not be received in the way that you intend them to be received. But we have to have faith that we have something to share, and you have that drive and that desire because you're being called to do it. So you just keep going. And then a couple keynotes later, from my own experience, someone walks up to you and says, "Oh my gosh, I needed to hear that today because this is what I'm going through. And I can see that if you could move past it, I can too." And that moment is what keeps you going through any of the failures and downturns or challenges. So keep going because you'll have many of those moments. And that's why we do what we do. So another tool that is using that heart piece is to use power statements. And power statements are connected to your stories, are connected to your life lessons, or they're really genuinely a part of who you are. Here's an example. I was at a speaking event, and I think, Sarita, you've probably heard this one a few times, but I was at a speaking event, and after my session, in between the other sessions, I was making some tea, and this lady walked up to me and she started sharing her story about what's happened in her life. And oh my gosh, she has been through so much, like tragedy that I can't relate to or comprehend. And I'm just stirring my tea. I don't drink coffee, my tea. And my mouth is aghast. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh. And then as she's stirring her coffee or tea or whatever, after sharing everything that's happened to her, she says, Trisha, if there's one thing I've learned, it's that life doesn't have to be so hard. Life doesn't have to be so hard. And when I heard that, it's really crazy. I immediately felt defensive. In my mind, I was like, life doesn't have to be so hard. Do you help run 2 businesses? Do you have to make nut-free lunches for 3 kids 5 days? Like, oh my gosh, the most ridiculous things were going through my head. And it hit a nerve. Like, has anyone ever given you feedback or an idea and it hit a nerve and you're like internally you're resisting it? Yes. Usually it's when my husband says something to me. But in this case, it was a stranger who had just shared about her tragic stories, how she's come out of it. And I felt mentally defensive. But what it taught me when I sat down with it for a little while, what it taught me is that I had this running theme in my life because I grew up in an entrepreneurial family. And although I was taught, yes, you can, it's my tagline, you can achieve whatever you put your vision and ideas to. The other side of the coin that I learned growing up, or what I saw, was that, but you're going to have to sacrifice and you're going to have to grind, and it is going to be hard. And that's just how I grew up because our businesses, it was hard. It looked like a struggle all the time. And so it was a running theme. So my question for you is, what's the running themes going on in your life? And when I became aware of this running theme in the background, like an operating system of a computer, and I became aware of it, I was able to trip it and to be like, oh, wait a minute. And to this day, I think about that moment. I use it all the time. I teach it in all my programs, that when I'm getting too elevated and hyped up about like, I have to do this and got all this. And usually it's when company's coming and I need to clean up. And I'm just like, oh, wait a minute. Whoa, settle down. Life does not have to be so hard. How am I making it harder than it needs to be? So that was a powerful lesson I learned. And the power statement that I'm talking about is exactly this. Life doesn't have to be so hard. So if you saw me doing a keynote on stage, there will be a moment where I talk about this lesson and I ground myself. I put both my feet on the ground. I look right into the audience because this is genuinely a truth that matters to me. And I share it. I gift it with them. Life doesn't have to be so hard. And it is a powerful moment for me and for audience members who are open to receiving it because it's a genuine truth. And so you want to be really connected to those genuine truths, those little pieces of your heart that you're sharing. They make a difference, and hold on to them. And you'll know when you share it with a group, whether again, it's in your boardroom or on a keynote stage, because you can feel people receiving it. So there you have it, some tools that you can use practically to engage and elevate the audience experience. Well, you don't remember that one, Sarita? Oh, see, That just says to me that, when people see you a couple times, you can still say the same stuff. We all hear different things at different times, right? I love that. So there's some tools for you. How's my time? How am I doing? I'm doing okay. Okay, so we're going to keep rolling along here. And remember, it's recorded, so you can go back to it. So please do any chance you can. That's right. Most things stick when you need to hear it most. Absolutely. When we're open to it, for sure. Let's now move on to how to empower and engage your audience, or as I put it on here, engage and empower your audience. Those tools are links to do that. So make sure you use them and practice them, and you'll create your own style around them. And for everyone, you have your own way of your own unique energy in delivering them as well. Okay, really quickly, I wanted to throw this in here because I get this question a lot. But Trisha, do you have to be funny? Like, I don't think I'm really that funny. And do I have to share humor? Well, here's the thing. It depends on what you're offering. Now, as a keynote presenter, I'm going to say you do need to have some humor in there because you want people to feel inspired. Okay. But if you're doing workshops on very specific expertise, maybe you're a travel agent and you have expertise in how to do cruising with ease, I don't know. Then you don't necessarily have to be so funny if it's expert based. But we're all human. So I think adding some humor is helpful. Do you have to be funny? No, you don't have to be a comedian. My kids don't think I'm funny. My husband doesn't, I don't even think he thinks I'm that funny, but I like to remind them that I get paid to be funny. It's like my ultimate thing. Do people pay you to be funny? But it's all about getting up there and sharing your stories. And through our stories, we can relate. And that's usually where we get our humor, right? So you don't have to be funny. You don't have to think of yourself as a funny person, but just sharing your stories and people are going to relate to that. You can also add humor through not your humor, but like memes like this. I can't even imagine the self-control required to work at a bubble wrap factory. I mean, how hard would that be to not pop the bubbles, right? Yeah. So you can add little funny memes. I actually do it all the time because I think it's cute because we're all on social media. We all can connect to that where we see these things constantly and we relate to them. So let me go back to this for a second. So feel free to throw in that kind of humor. Again, say you're the travel agent with your expertise in cruising. You can throw up some funny memes about people who are in the cruising on the boat. There's endless sources of that. So just be aware of the quality of the images because when you're on a big stage, they may not show up very well. But usually if it's a smaller screen, it's not a big deal. But throw in some humor like that. And you don't have to be funny, but I promise if you show up with your unique energy and you use stories, people are going to relate. And there's obviously most often in stories of challenges, there can be some humor in there too. So be open to sharing it is, I guess, the main message there. Okay, so we've talked about your content. We've talked about your, what was the second one? Content, voice. And now we're going to go on to, right, content. Oh, how you deliver it. And now we're going to talk about your impact. Because when you are connected to your impact, it really does help you to have the energy to keep moving forward, even when it's challenging, big time. So share your wisdom and you will make impact. Guaranteed, you share it, someone's going to need to hear it. There is someone right now who needs to hear what you have to say. And you will make a difference, whether you're just sharing it on LinkedIn, whether you're just sharing it on Facebook, or you're going to a networking event and offering a short presentation. If you have the invitation by the universe to do this work, someone needs to hear what you have to say. So please know that. And by using your words, your voice, your space, and your energy, by owning them and having faith that someone needs to hear it, you will make a difference. But for many of us, we get stuck because even though we recognize that we want to share these ideas and we maybe even invest in coaching programs and we read books and we get mentors and all that kind of stuff, there's still 3 very common vultures, I like to call them, that can hold you back. Very common vultures. So we want to address them, and I want to offer you right now ways to move past them. So my question for you as you hear about these vultures is, can you relate to any of them? Maybe you can, most likely. Maybe you can't. Very cool. But these are some ideas for how you can move past them. The first vulture is when we think in our mind, who am I to think I can? Who am I to think that I can get on a stage, share some stories about my life, and that, it's going to make a difference to anyone? Who am I? It's like a confidence thing, right? Well, when you have that thought, it's your brain trying to keep you safe because it takes risk and courage to get up on any stage, boardroom or on a big stage in a room. And our minds are like, oh my gosh, no, that's scary. Someone might say something. You're in a vulnerable state. So because our brains want to keep us safe and comfortable and to not necessarily grow, this is what your brain will tell you. So how do we shift that around? When you think it, stop it, reframe it. I am worthy enough to try. If Trisha can do it, if Sarita can do it, if this person, that person can do it, well, then you can do it too. Nothing that makes them special. They're just people. And so you are worthy enough to try. And that hopefully will give you enough motivation and fuel to get out there, take the risk, and share your thoughts. The second one is skills-based. Can I actually do that? There's so many times in my career, to this day, where I go after an opportunity, I get it, and then I'm like, oh crap. Now I have to do it. I actually have to do what I said I wanted to do. Like, but what happens if I don't know? Usually, if you have a skill set that's like a bubble and you expand a little bit beyond the bubble, it is so scary because you don't know if you can actually do it. You're quite sure you can, but you're going to have to acquire some skills and as confidence and courage, it only grows from doing it, right? You can't think your way to more confidence or courage. So then you do it and your bubble just expands a little bit and then you go beyond that bubble a little more. So can I actually do it? When you think it, when that vulture is pecking at your possibility and potential, you shift it to I can learn. You have more confidence in your ability to learn than you do in what you know. That's really important. And that's what the most successful people around me, they're very confident they can figure that stuff out. I've done really good. I haven't sworn once. So I'm pretty proud of myself today. Going on YouTube, people. So I lost my train of thought because I got so proud of myself for not swearing. You can learn. So they know that they have the ability to figure it out, right? And so do you. So have more confidence in your ability to figure it out than what you currently know. Because if you are going to go past your bubble level, you're going to have to learn. You're going to have to grow and expand. It's just how it works, right? And then you do it. You're like, oh, I did it. Yay. What's next? The third one, the third vulture, is social based. What will other people think? Ah, man. How many times have you thought this? I remember dressing up in high school for like dress up days because I was involved in leadership. So I had to set an example. And I remember being in my crazy gear and I'd go to walk into the school and I'm like, oh, I hope I'm not the only one. And then life as adults, we still face similar things. What will other people think? What will my colleagues think? I'm like, I'm going to go speak at a conference about this. Or what will my in-laws think or my partner, my children, anyone? What will they think? And this social element really can, again, peck away at our potential and possibility. So when you think it, catch it, and reframe it to, who will I inspire? And here's a truth that I know is 100%. Again, if you share your insights, your ideas, your stories, your tools, your tips, and your ways of moving forward in your own life and for others, someone needs to hear it, and you will inspire people. Not only by what you say, by the fact that you're showing up for yourself in that way, others will see what you're doing and be like, well, if she can do it or he can do it, I can do it too. So please know that. Who will you inspire? Might even be yourself at the end. So there you have it. Content, delivery. Oh, Sarita, as a South Asian woman, you grew up hearing that your whole life. Wow. Yeah. So a lot of ways that you heard where you can't maybe do something or move forward, but you do anyways. And that's what I love about you. Okay, let's go to our time. So content delivery and impact is the third one, but I put resistance in there because when we recognize our resistance, then we can make impact. Because it's really easy to be like, I'm going to make impact, but then you get stuck in the resistance. And I see it again and again. It's a pattern. It's very common. So we spend more time in my Speak Plus program working on resistance than anything else. And that's why Speak Plus, the plus part, is all about that mindset of how you hold yourself back. Because you need to be able to step out of the fear and into your faith of what you can accomplish and achieve to really make the waves that you seek to make. So let's put some action steps in play for you here. If you are looking to move forward, make sure you write out your stories for yourself. Make sure that you keep that story inventory available to you, because that's going to be your gold mine of creating content that makes impact. Practice delivering it. Ask for the opportunities, whether at work or in the boardroom, maybe on a stage, local chamber, and just do it. Have the courage to step outside the bubble and make the difference. If you seek more support in doing that, Speak Plus could be a great fit for you. It's a 12-week coaching experience, all about the skills, mindsets, and industry must-haves to rock your stage, whatever that stage might be. For more information, you go to passionaigniter.ca/Speak Plus. Many of you and I are connected on LinkedIn. You can message me here. If you're watching on YouTube later on, you can message me there as well. So I can answer any of your questions about the experience. But it's an intensive 12-week program where we work one-on-one and as a group to help you create everything you need to move forward as a speaker and a thought leader with clarity, courage, and confidence. So if you're interested, please do reach out about that. I do have an opportunity to share a one-on-one session with one person. So please send in via this call right now. You can direct message me your email address as well. Now, I promised Simi that I would do a screenshot, but now I have to figure out how to do a screenshot. So if that's okay, I'm going to do a screenshot really quick. Well, now I can't figure out how to do a screenshot. Oh, good God. Can anyone just come here and help me with, I need a technical advisor.
Do you mean like a screenshot just with all of us, or just this slide?
So like, right? That's what you want, right? Send me that. Yeah. Well, I do screenshots all the time, but now it's not working for me. Isn't it Command 4? Anyways, let me go to the next one anyway.
I was going to say, do you have a Mac?
I do have a Mac.
Okay, I don't, so I can't help.
Oh, thanks, Sarita. Thanks for coming out. Oh, Simi, you want me to go here? It's a Mac. Yeah, it's a Mac. I don't know if I can do it while the presentation's on, actually. Oh, I thought I could. But anyway, so, okay, one more thing too is if you are interested in Speak Plus, you can save $150 if you use the code FALLSPEAK+. Make sure you send that my way if you're interested. We can start on any Monday. It's an ongoing enrollment. Yeah, and so one of the things I would love to learn from you is what tool stood out for you? What resonated? What is one thing, if you can put it into the chat, because I'm always curious, what is one thing that is going to help you move forward as a speaker with more confidence, clarity, and courage? Would you mind adding that to the chat? I'm always super curious. Command Control S. Command Control. Oh, well, it's like it won't let me do it. Anyways. Oh, Melanie, I'm glad that pie was good for you. You're working on a presentation right now. Yeah, add that baby in. And it's what I love about pie is it's very effective in a controlled and like structured opening. So you can host and lead that group right from the very, very beginning. I'm curious if anyone has any questions. I am happy to answer any of them. It's 9:45, so I totally get it if you need to run. But if you have questions or you want to stick around for questions, please just turn on your mic and feel free to ask anything. Oh, that's good that Michelle, that helps with the grounding. Yeah, I mentally feel my feet on the stage. Yeah. Any questions I can answer for anyone? Maybe you have a presentation coming up that I can offer some insights on, or because if you're asking it, someone else might be asking it too. No?
I have to pop off, so I will hopefully see you again soon.
Sounds good. Thanks for joining in,
everybody.
Michelle. We'll see you soon.
Have
Take
a good
care.
day.
You
Bye.
too. Perfect. Okay, well, if no one has any questions, thank you for sharing time with me. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. And please connect with me on LinkedIn, whatever social media that you're on. I'm on Instagram with Passion Igniter, although I do love LinkedIn a little more. But yeah, reach out. I'd love to connect if we're not already connected, and keep an ear out for our monthly newsletters. So you can go onto LinkedIn and sign up for our newsletter there. It's called Work Life Synergy, or of course on my website at passionaigniter.ca. Every month we share events that you can be a part of, live webinars, also some free tools as well to help you with your work-life wellness and of course with your speaking journey too. So keep an eye out for all that fun adventure, free stuff on your way, resources that you can use, but also some insights that are content, hopefully that will help you to elevate your life experience too. That's the general idea. Fantastic. Okay, well, I won't keep you any longer, but thank you for joining in, and I'll see you all online. Take care.